We're mixing up a great soup today.
We've got 3D paper stars, dazzling layouts, and totally elegant flock cards. Today on Scrapbook Soup.
Today's Scrapbook Soup has been brought to you in part by Michael's Stores Incorporated, where creativity happens. Michaels.com. Sakura Color Products of America. SakuraofAmerica.com.
Well, we are seeing stars today, and just look at this beautiful star that we have hanging in the studio.
It's
Isn't that gorgeous?
I love it.
And how do we make it, Julie?
Well, we're going to start with some easy-to-use software, and you can see that I'm just going to go up to the File menu, and I'm going to open a photo. Any image on your computer is totally fine. I'm just going to use one of these water lilies, and you can see it just opens on up. And now I can move this around in any way that I want, and I have a preview over on this side, which shows exactly what the kaleidoscope is going to look like.
Yeah, it looks like a kaleidoscope.
Exactly, and I can resize, and I can turn, and I can keep seeing what it's going to look like. For this particular project, I'm going to change the shape, and I'm going to pick this one that says Star 06.
Oh my gosh, and look at all those shapes.
I know, there's so many to choose from. So once the shape changes, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out exactly what I want to see on my star that I'm making. And for, in this instance, let's say I wanted that flower with the bee right in the center. So I would simply place it, and then I would go to Print Poster just from the File menu, and then I would go ahead and I would print out 5 copies of that. And when they're printed out, they're going to look something like the one that I have right here. This is my husband and his grandmother. Very cute photo.
Very sweet.
And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut around this, but I'm actually going to use a ruler and a knife to cut 3 of the sides.
Okay.
And the reason
now,
for this...
Sorry to interrupt you here, but how many of these are we going to have to print?
5.
5. Okay.
And the reason that I'm going to use a ruler and a knife is because I need to create a little tab for the stars. So the nice thing about these rulers that you can see through is all I have to do is I can see right there exactly how much. You want about 3/4, 3/8 rather.
Okay.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I have to turn this
I was going to say, are you
cutting
suddenly
on that side
left-handed?
is just too hard to do.
There you go.
So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut straight down there because you always want to cut towards yourself. I have my fingers plenty far away. I'm cutting on a
mat. Not
so
the
I'm not
dining room
cutting through the
table.
table, and then you can see that that cuts right through there. And then for the sides that are here, I'm just going to use scissors to cut through until I get through the next side that needs to be cut with a knife. And I would cut here and here, leaving a margin. And I have one here that is already done, so may I hand this to you? And I'll get the knife out of the way.
And this pattern is actually going to be on the website.
Yes, it
too,
will, and all the
correct?
instructions will be on the website as well. So here's what it looks like when I have my tabs and everything. And now I'm going to do a little bit of shaping. And I actually, these scissors are great for those long edges, but I like to use something that you can really get into the corners with. So I'm going to cut just a little notch in here so each of these flaps will work. And then I'm actually going to trim down the ends just so everything folds in nicely. And I'm going to do that again here, just trimming down.
So we don't have any bulky
and trimming down.
corners.
Exactly. Now, one of the things is I have marked on the back of this, just so you can see where I'm going to score, because these are all the places that I'm going to fold. And again, all the instructions and all these markings will be on the website so you can see it. And to score, I happen to be using a tool that just helps you score, but you can really use anything at all to do it. And all I'm doing is I'm creating that fold line so that it's really, really easy, and I just run it down. This is heavy photo paper, and I'm able to just go ahead and score it. And now this is going to fold beautifully exactly where I want it to. And I have one here that is already scored. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fold it. Now, all of the folds that go lengthwise are going to fold so that the photo is at the peak of the folds.
Okay.
Okay, that's easy to understand, right?
Right, yeah.
But the folds that are along the top are going to fold so that the photo is what we call the valley.
Ah, the valley folds. So these are your
Exactly.
mountain
It's a
folds
mountain
on the
and a
faux.
valley.
There we go.
Exactly. So once this is all folded, and I would of course have 5 of these done, I'm going to use an adhesive. Now, if I were at home, I would use a wet adhesive because you want something that's going to hold. I just don't have the time to let it dry.
Right.
So instead, I'm going to use a very adhesive glue spot, and I'm just going to go ahead and I like to push the paper onto the glue spot instead of
And just
lifting
picking it right
the
off
glue
the
spot
paper.
up because it gets messy all over your fingers,
Yeah.
and they're so sticky that you end up with,
Right.
you know, that kind of stuck together thing. So once my flap is done, I just go ahead and I fold this in, and it's less important that the image line up and more important that you just get a nice, good
That the
seal.
lines, yeah.
And don't be scared about treating this rough. Get in there, crease it. This is hardy,
Well,
you
it's
know?
photo paper. Yeah, it is. It's very hardy.
It's
easy.
very hardy. So I have this slice, as you could call it. I'm going to flatten it now because what I want to do is on these folds, I want to put a little bit of adhesive as well. So I'm just going to continue to go around. I think these things are lifesavers because you really get them to be super sticky. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to put 2. I would, of course, cover the whole thing on there. Then what you do is you take, and you see I have another identical one, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to place it so the, so what I say? I would say that so that John's grandma is up.
Right. So basically, so they match.
So they match,
Matching
push them
images.
together, and then right here, where I scored that, I just fold it over. Just sandwich it up.
And that's how
I
we're going to connect
fold
them
the next
all
one
together.
up. Exactly. So I just fold that over. So then you would just connect all 5, and once they're all connected, you would have your finished star. Now, if you wanted to do that beautiful pin pricking, then you would do that while it was still flat before you did any of the cutting, and you just take a regular pin and poke holes on top of like a mouse pad or something that you're not going to poke through your
something
table.
soft. And then
Yes.
we always have to be cautious about what kind of bulb we're going to put
Yeah,
inside.
low
right?
wattage, something cool.
All right, thanks, Julie. This was real fun. Now we'll be right back. I'm here with Julianna Hudgins, and you have got this really cool project to show us. I have never seen such a beautiful album.
It is so beautiful. It's so heartfelt. You know, it really, so much passion went into this journal.
And it looks as if it took hours to make, but it didn't.
But it didn't.
You told me.
I
Okay.
know. And what's really cool is that you have the pre-cut chipboard journal. And then to make it really easy, you have the dies that are actually the same size. So of course we want to make our chipboard really nice and pretty with some
Right.
decorative paper. So I love how it all coordinates.
It all works together.
Yep.
Complimentary. It's wonderful.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so I'm very excited about this project. So what we want to do then is we have a couple more cuts to make. So I'm going to bring in my base plate, and it says it right down here, base
Okay.
plate. These are the other dies that I'm going to be using, and these are nesting. So you can see that this was the really large one, and then from there, it just started to get smaller.
Oh.
And look at how tiny
Look at
that
all those
little one
nested
is.
shapes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
can
so
you
fun.
say they're concentric shapes? We talk about concentric circles, right?
Right.
So this is cool.
So what I'm going to do next is I've laid the dies down, and the edge side is up to the ceiling.
Okay.
Then I'm going to take the paper and place that over each die.
So you're going to do 2 things at one time.
That's right, because you have a big base.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to take the cutting pad, lift all of that up, put it into my die cutting machine, which I have secured down to the table.
Oh, I'm glad it's secured.
Yes, it is. And then I'm just going to roll.
We are rocking and rolling, girlfriend.
I love this. You know, there's nothing more fun than crafting with a friend. And this particular journal is perfect for that because there are numerous pages. So I'm going to very carefully, remove that.
Okay.
And we'll just
Well, I
pass
hang on
that over
this
to
one.
you really
Actually,
quick
let me
here.
put this down here.
And we'll just take that negative space right off.
Okay.
And then the next thing that we're going to do is we want to create a little bit of an emboss. So this, once again, is going to save a lot of time because I cut and now I'm embossing.
With the same die.
Exactly.
I like it.
So what I'm going to do then is go ahead and insert that into the machine. And as I mentioned, we are embossing those pieces now.
Okay.
So you really do get a lot of different looks.
Right.
With, you know, just that one die. So we'll take that out.
Okay.
And woohoo, look, he was so excited.
Yeah, let me shall I take those?
I got it over here, but thank you. See, I love when a
right.
friend is with me to
Isn't
scrap.
that fun?
Oh, look
you
at
can
this
see
cut.
that.
Is so,
That is
so
so cool.
beautiful. All right, so then what we're going to do is start to assemble the page.
Okay.
Now, every page in this journal really has its own special story. And what's really cool is that you have some bling. I know you want to pass
All
that
right,
over to
here.
me.
Let me give that to you.
And with this bling, this really cool, look at the jewels. You know I love this.
Oh, yes.
So these have actually been created so that they're the same size as well.
So they
of
complement the dies as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, so everything that you need, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to measure. You don't have to worry about, am I cutting the right length? All of these. And what I do, did you see how I just kind of peeled that first?
From the corner.
Yeah, that just kind of helps me. I don't really like to touch the backs of items that have adhesive, just, you know, so
Just
there's
a little
no
bit.
cross-contamination with the sweat or what have you from your fingers. Oh, this is so cool.
It's going to fall right
Isn't
into
that
place
gorgeous?
there. That is. That's really pretty.
Oh my goodness, it looks like $1 million. I love it.
The $1 million
Yes,
album.
the $1 million album. It's so beautiful. So at this point, you can also tell that, you know, there's this beautiful embossed
Background
area.
paper.
And you could take your sander and you could just, you know, make it look a little vintage-like by using the sander. And you just want to rough up that edge, and then you could use some chalks. But then I just start to layer, and we'll put this down here. And oh my goodness, you can even cut like a really thin type of foil product.
metal?
Sure. And then we'll put that down there. You can crumble up your leaves that have already been cut. Here's that little die right
and
here.
also a die for that, yeah.
And then again, the little pearls. They're so sweet. So we're just going to continue to put all of that together. And then there's one of the pages from our, I'm going to call this a story journal.
I
'Cause
like that.
Yeah, because the papers are
like
just
once
so.
upon a time, you know
Once
what, it
upon
looks
a
like
time.
a fairy tale. Well, you know what, let's pull this up and let's go through the pages, because each of these pages in
special.
itself is a beautiful project.
This front page, and these flowers were actually cut with a die. And then you would just twist those together, you know, using
and
your
then we've
adhesive.
added more jewels.
Again, those jewels were made especially for these dies, these nesting dies.
And again, there's the sample that we just did.
It's so gorgeous.
Just look, they are gorgeous. It
Oh
really
my goodness.
is.
It really
And
is.
It's phenomenal. And because
great
we,
gift.
I know.
What a great
You're
wedding
giving this to
gift.
me, right?
Sure.
I'm not.
course.
I'm not getting married, but you can still give it to me, and I will add photos. Jules, this was great. Thank
This
you
was great.
so much. We'll be right back.
Well, I'm here with Lynell Harlow from Dreamweaver Stencils, and you always have great techniques, and you are back with something totally fabulous for us. What you got?
We're working with a new spreader for the embossing paste that we're going to work with today, and we're working with larger stencils this time around.
And these are metal stencils.
They are metal, and one thing that happens when you have a metal stencil like this, you need to make sure that it lays flat against your paper surface.
Okay.
But before I get ahead of myself, I put the pan of water in front of you.
I'm going to be the cleaning lady today.
You are. Just be sure to keep it flat when
Okay.
you're cleaning it. And this is just a soft t-shirt fabric, and it's nice to dry with.
Okay.
So what I've done is I put a couple of pieces of removable tape here, and I'm going to finish out taping the rest of this.
Okay.
Like I said, you want to make sure that there's no play in it. So one thing I do is...
You can just check if there's any dings
see
or
how,
anything.
And if it pops up and down like this, you want that curved side to be against your paper.
Okay.
So I'm just going to tape
I always
this up.
I always think that prep is one of those things that really makes sure you get a good result. Sometimes it's the more sort of boring part of it, but you got to do it so that you get those fabulous results.
It's very true.
And you're just using the tape to seal it all in and make sure it stays in place.
And if you're a minimalist, you don't want to be a minimalist when you tape. You want to have all the edges because it protects the paper from getting anything on it. Now, I'm just taking, I said I had 2 pieces. I'm just take one more piece up here at the top. I call this technique platform pasting because I'm creating a platform with the paste.
With the tape.
With the tape.
Yes.
For the paste.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And I have gold embossing paste. And this is just an offset palette knife.
Okay.
I put my paste out.
So you put that on the tape. Oh, so I see, because the tape is shiny and slick as opposed to the paper, so it's going to make it easier for you to pull that paste onto the stencil.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, as you get better at it, I found that as I get better at it,
And this is one of those things where practice really does make perfect.
right, and
And you're always scraping towards yourself.
it's easiest, and I'm putting a firm pressure against here.
And you hold the stencil on the paper with the other hand.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep this from shifting.
Okay.
Now,
That's a beautiful design.
if you, I'm slowly flattening my spreader as I go across, and then at the end I just kind of sweep up. And that's why I have a piece of paper under me.
Okay.
If you have a little bit of a mess. All of this is going to go back in your
It's totally
jar.
reusable. Is this the kind of thing where it's better to put too much paste rather than too little?
Yes, because otherwise you'll end up getting a space or a hole. And if you do have that happen, Julie, you could just take a little bit of paste, very lightly fill it in. You don't want to dab on it, just lightly fill it in.
I like things where you can fix it later.
Yeah, and then at a 90-degree angle, you can just go across, and that
Scrapes up the excess.
it does. Now that I am finished with that,
Okay.
I'm going to just put that in the water.
Yep.
And I have a tissue here. I'm just wiping off the excess off of my palette knife.
Okay.
And I'm going to deposit all of this excess tape.
Okay. Into that tissue. You're a very neat lady, because I would just have it all over me and all over everything else. This is the big reveal.
Yeah, and this last tape is going to stay on there. That is your hinge. And I'm just pulling it off this way.
Oh, how cool.
Ta-da.
And I will wash that for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then I'm just going to
Wad that up, and I'll take it away for you. Thank you. Okay, so now you've got this beautiful paste, and is that going to dry really fast?
It will dry fairly quickly, and I'm going to put flocking on this.
Okay.
So I want to put it on while it's still wet.
Okay, so you're putting a file folder underneath to catch the excess flocking.
Yes, because it has a tendency to just fly
To get
everywhere.
everywhere. And I know you said that you need to sort of scrub both sides of the stencil, so I'm just going to flip it over and scrub it up on the other side.
Yep. Now, even though this looks like there's a lot on here.
Just like glitter, you want to shake off the excess.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're just tapping on the back. I see, and it's sticking to the paste underneath. And I know that we have a couple here that are already done up front. And this one you've done with, I believe, a gold paste, is that
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And then this has that same brown flocking that we've just used, except that I think you told me that the whatever's underneath is going to actually show through, so you get a two-tone effect.
Yeah.
So that's why the brown flocking looks shiny there.
Right, and this one has copper paste under it instead of gold.
And you use glitter here, which is so cool. And of course you have lots of other designs. I love this mosaic, sort of swirly, the umbrellas. They're so intricate and beautiful. And when you came into the studio today, I got really excited about the card that you made with that stencil. It's over there, and it's so dimensional and shiny and beautiful. And I know that all the instructions will be on the website. So Lynell, this has been completely fantastic. Thank you so much. And we'll be right back.
Journaling is such a big part of scrapbooking, and Kathy Kromer joins us from Michaels, and you've taken journaling to a new artistic level, because sometimes it's nice to have a journal that is just about art and it's all about you, not necessarily photographs. And I know you have a little philosophy about this too.
I struggled with that for a while, so I decided to make myself some rules. a game for this just one book. And the game is that I have to sit and describe my surroundings in third person. So it kind of takes the I part.
I love these beautiful covers that you did. But
Well, I've done a ton of covers but never filled them.
That is sometimes a stumbling block when you see all those white pages. Where do I start? I wouldn't know where to start, Kathy. I have to be honest with you.
I didn't know where to start until I finally just sat down with this the other day and described my outside. The birds were singing, the roses are blooming, and it came out on this piece of art. What seemed to release me was the graphite pencil, just loose sketching. I'm not a fine artist. I started as a decorative painter. So I just kind of sketch and smudge and color like when you were a child.
Oh, with graphite, you can smudge because it's so soft and it's not charcoal, right?
Right.
Is that right? And you just get this really cool look. So now, what rules did you develop for yourself? Because I know you have like 3 specific things that you always want to do
on each
the
page.
art side.
I want a nose, an eye, and a mouth.
Okay.
And I'm kind of prone to long, skinny necks in my pieces.
Hey, aren't we all?
So that's just the rule. And this one started out, and this was my first rose that bloomed in the backyard the other day. Here we have a long, skinny neck, and I started with drawing a little lip, and it looked more like a mustache. So he ended up being a little man.
So it's a guy, so it's not necessarily you, right?
Right.
It can be anything.
This is about this. I left myself some lines to go back here and journal. You can color with your pencil. You can color with your markers.
And you know what? I love the way it comes through on the other side of the paper because
love
that's
that
where you're going to do
too.
the journaling, and it makes such a pretty background. It's just gorgeous.
It's very
Let's
nice.
look at this neck. I like this guy or gal or this person.
She's a person, I
and
guess.
and the bird with a little crown on.
And then I just journaled about the outside and how the birds sing of renewal. And here again, you have the back page that's going to be great for journaling on.
Definitely, I love this one with the
another
heart.
one.
Anything with a heart.
I know, I love life. This is one that I'll come back to.
Well, how do we get started?
Let me show you.
Okay.
So since my rule, I'm going to turn this around. Since my rule is that I have to have a nose and an eye, I'm just going to sketch out a quick little eye here.
Okay.
And it depends on, you just move yourself around on the page. So here this eye's here, sometimes it's down here.
It doesn't really matter.
And then you work with what you've given yourself. So it's not a determined piece, it just starts.
So what inspires your drawing basically? Is it what you're writing about, which is what you're seeing when you're sitting outside? So for example, right now, you could be very inspired that you're here and you're taping on Scrapbook Soup. And
Yes, and
so this could be a page all about that inspiration.
It would. So in this part, then I would sit and describe the studio, the lights and the cameraman and your smiling face and then just start to draw. And usually something just comes from within.
Right.
And will come out if you don't work too hard at it. Don't
just
try
kind
to
of let it go.
Yes.
I think a lot we're so inhibited sometimes. It's kind of like, oh, it's got to be perfect, and oh my gosh, that really doesn't look like an eye, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. You're just giving
just try it.
You're giving the impression of. So see, my lips are a little lopsided here, but you can always go back. And like I said, I have this thing for long necks. I don't know why, so I usually stick one on here, and this girl may have some shoulders.
That's cool. Now, how are you going to color this?
We'll flip back to this one that I'd started earlier. And it's just about leaving yourself some little spaces here and there and then filling in. So I've colored with that. We'll take this one right here.
Okay.
And just kind of, it's not precise.
It's just kind of letting yourself go, picking up whichever color suits your fancy at the moment.
Yes.
And
just coloring. So we've got a little space here. I'll color in. The blue and the yellow remind me of the sun and the blue sky, and the sun's peeking through. So everybody will have their own meaning to their colors.
It's really cool. I think the most important thing is allowing yourself to do something that is not perfect. Because we grow up and we're taught, oh, it has to be right, and it's got to be the best. And it's really not important.
It's not. And it's your journal, so you don't have to ever have anybody see it. It's not like anybody has to look at your work. And sometimes, when I was a little girl, I used to pick up crayons out of the box, and I just had to color whatever was in my hand, that color.
Those colors are always inspiring. And you know what? You can take these rules and these ideas and you can actually put them in your scrapbooking albums, because journaling is so important there too. Fill a 12 by 12 page or 8 by 8. Kathy, I have to tell you, you've really inspired me. I'm going to give this a try, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And I'll see you later.
All right.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Now stay tuned because we'll be right back. Well, we just have a couple more ingredients to show you that you can use in your scrapbook soup.
Yeah, so we're using paper clay to make all these beautiful cards. And the nice thing about paper clay is that it air dries. So you just can stamp into it, you can mold it, you can cut it,
It's
you can
gorgeous.
paint it.
Makes great embellishments.
It really does. And lots of lightweight embellishments too, because you're sending these through the mail. Which is very important. Okay, and another ingredient that we're working with is fabric. And I'm a sewer, so I love fabric. And we have some great viewer projects that were sent in. And these first two layouts are by Carrie Babbitt, and she's from Salt Lake City, Utah. And both of these layouts use fabric as the background. And it's so touchable and soft, it makes you want to reach out, doesn't it? I love how she fringed the edges here.
Yeah.
And this next layout is from Barb Rogaszewski from De Pere, Wisconsin. And look, this whole layout is done on fabric. This is fabric that she dyed herself, and these are all fabric embellishments down here. This is a layout that I made, and this uses fabric to make these roses. I've got felt leaves. And then finally, that adorable little gift bag, that was sent in by Margie Higuchi from Schaumburg, Illinois. And anywhere that you can use paper, you can pretty much use fabric.
Well, these are great ideas, and we really thank the viewers for sending these projects. And we thank you for joining us in our first season of Scrapbook Soup. We hope we've helped you add a few new recipes to your scrapbook.
And a few new ingredients to your repertoire.
So join us next time on a new series of Scrapbook Soup.
Visit scrapbooksouptv.com for a mix of ideas, a mix of ingredients, a mix of designers, and all of the instructions for every project found on this series of Scrapbook Soup. Create your own recipe for great scrapbooking. This is show 113. A complete set of all 13 episodes of Scrapbook Soup Series 100 is available for $39.99 plus shipping and handling. A mix of designers, techniques, and projects, all in one complete package to watch anytime. Visit scrapbooksouptv.com to place your order. Today's Scrapbook Soup has been brought to you in part by Michael's Stores Incorporated, where creativity happens. Michaels.com, Sakura Color Products of America, SakuraofAmerica.com.